to the cloud. Okay, it's October 13th. Calling this the Conservation Board meeting to order. So we've got our agenda. Which is, it's been called to order, and then we have our first public comment period. For anybody that's a member of the public that's called in, you can, if you have any specific comments you wanted to make, anything at all, right now is a good time. Every agenda item will also have public participation and comments, and we can choose to suspend Robert's rules and be a little bit more relaxed if we want about it, after we get through our business items. So any public comment? Okay, then let's go to our first thing, which is the adoption approval of the 7/21 meeting minutes. Did y'all see those? They were published by Amy. We're a bit behind, and then we had a couple of working meetings afterwards that we don't have official minutes for. I can pull them up on my screen, and
I don't need to see them again.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the July meeting minute.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? I
Aye.
see Alexis, me, I say yes. Amy, Lindsay, we're good. Okay, that's done. Then we have, first up is election of a new vice chair. We need a vice chair for 2 months, because we're going to redo officer elections in January.
I already have a job.
What does the vice chair do?
They basically stand in for
Oh, right.
the chair if the chair can't attend a meeting.
Okay.
But we don't. I don't know that we have to have one, do we?
Yeah, we do, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought there was.
We have to have a vice chair and a secretary and a chair. I think those are the three official roles. So,
Did I hear Alexis?
did I hear
offer
Alexis say that she would be a vice chair just now?
Sure, I could be the vice chair.
Lindsay, do you want to throw your hat in the ring too, or?
No, do we need a motion?
We do.
I motion to nominate or to vote for Alexis as our vice chair.
I'll second. Okay, all in favor? Lindsay's a yes, Amy's a yes, I'm a yes, and Alexis, our vice chair, is a yes.
Woohoo.
Motion passes. Okay. Congratulations.
Lucky you.
That's right. Add it to your resume. Let's see.
That's true. It's not a bad thing.
Okay, so the next agenda item is just an update on a recycling video storyboard by Lindsay. So
Excellent.
I'll just hand it to you. You do whatever you want to do.
Sure. I will share screen so you can read along with me, but basically it's just a review of our major video outlines that we talked about in July, but it's kind of a recap on where we're at with those. And then I'm going to continue to work on storyboarding, matching up our current shots with the overall story of each video. So our overall goals we talked about are, we want to inspire people who watch these videos to recycle more, recycle higher quality items. So get the waste out, the contamination out, and build a positive relationship with city staff, boards, orgs. So Michael and I did talk a little bit about collaboration on these videos too. So our major scenes for the first video, the summary video, is recycling in Livingston, giving folks a snapshot of what is the current situation. And how is this on size? Do you need me to zoom in at all? You're good. Okay. So impact statement, why does it matter? And we thought that it would be more fun to hear that from a kid. So we've been thinking about who would be a proud parent to give consent and what kid might be good at that job. Then footage of our transfer station here in Livingston, the major do's and don'ts. This is where we would have those shots that we talked about of like a clamshell, and then Alexis being like, oh, no, no, no. Or there's a different no that I can't replicate at this moment. But this is where the fun and the information comes in for the different materials. And then a general statement about the hours and how to find out what the hours are, like referring to the website in case that ever changes or if it's open on a certain holiday or something. And then the cute kid will wrap us up again, and a teaser for the next videos about where your recycling goes. So we even talked about having like a video box in the frame of the next video for like the nerd who really wants to learn more about like what happens to our recycling when it leaves Livingston. And so then we would like to have 3 different videos, right, Michael, I think, of each of the different materials. So an intro, and then a lot of that footage from Eli from Four Corners Recycling, or We Recycle Montana is their business name. And just drawing that connection between, okay, when the plastic leaves Livingston, when the glass, when the aluminum and tin and the cardboard all leave Livingston, where are they going from here? And there's a lot of educational moments in there too about when in doubt, throw it out, that can kind of expand on our simpler messages from the summary videos. So working on kind of lining all that out with the footage we have right now and what footage we still need. Any questions?
I think it sounds like a really awesome plan. Have either of you guys talked to the city about this, and are we going to run into trouble like
So
putting this out into the world?
the footage of the transfer station, we hope to have interview with city staff there, also helping us along in the story. And as far as where to post it, I think we're thinking about the Conservation Board webpage on the city and feeling confident about our ability to share it there.
But
Yeah, I mean, one thing to remember is that our bylaws specifically say that we're supposed to build ways to promote this stuff, and we know for sure the city isn't going to do it. So it's a pretty small ask. But to answer your question, Amy, directly, no. With that, I felt like it was not useful to approach the city without, because the first question is, you know, you kind of start with this, well, what kind of things are you going to put in here and all that kind of stuff, right? And so without having something like this,
yeah,
this rewards what it's going to be, I think that it's pretty easy for this to be kind of shot down, frankly. But now that we have, hey, no, this is exactly what it is. I think that it becomes a lot more real and a lot easier for them to say yes. And you know, I mean, if this really didn't, if we put this storyboard together and it really just wasn't well received, we could just cross that bridge when it comes,
Okay.
right? I mean, there, you know, there's nothing, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd say, you know, let's stay focused on this, on doing it, because it'll feel good to actually do something. And we'll figure out how to publish it and where.
Okay.
So what's next, Lindsay? What do we do? How do we proceed on the project?
So I'm in a storyboard. We'll need to collect more footage at the transfer station, outreach to city staff there, which I think Michael's going to help with. We'll need to line up music, get a kid. And we talked about one of those kids maybe being related to PCEC, so we could kind of nod to all of their efforts in the city and bring them along in the storytelling. And so with Michael, maybe you can remind me, will I create the storyboard and then we'll bring it back to the group, or will we just push on with doing the filming in pairs?
I mean, I think that it's going to be pretty clunky to bring it back to the whole group. I think this feels like it's enough of an outline that we can probably leave the individual storyboarding to you, and then you can just basically hand out video assignments as needed. And
Okay.
and then that way we can run, we don't have to worry about then there's a clear handoff, and we don't have to worry about having to get a quorum or that sort of thing. We're a little dicey right now as a board because if any two of us work together, well, two of us can work together without public notice, but three of us can't just because of sunshine laws. So having a team of two work on footage that you told us to do is probably the appropriate thing. Or if you want to dish out tasks right now, this is an opportunity for public comment on the tasks, this public meeting that we're having right now. And so we could do that, and then just try to knock them all out. And maybe Lindsay, you can be sort of accountability project manager or something.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, just let me know if you need me to do anything at this point.
Lindsay, I don't think my wife wants to be doing the video.
Habit.
Yeah, I know.
Alexis and Michael, are you willing to do the filming at the transfer station? Okay. Once you're healthy, Alexis. Amy, are you interested in some voiceover narration?
I will give it a shot.
Right. We might need to do some of that writing together. Editing, Michael, are you interested in doing that with me?
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah, absolutely.
Editing. And then Michael, are you interested in outreach to the city PCEC in terms of kid and staff recruitment for all of that transfer station filming?
Yeah. In fact, why don't you just let me know kind of as soon as your storyboard is ready. I'll outreach to city staff. Well, I'll have to go through, I'll outreach to Michael Cardis first, and share the storyboard with him. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So as soon as you have the storyboard, I would say, yeah, I'm trying to think what the best way, I don't want you to like spend hours and hours on it, but it does feel like low risk, honestly. I just don't see this being that big of a problem. So here's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and reach out to, now that we have kind of this bullet list, I'll reach out to Michael Cardus pretty soon, like tomorrow or the next day, talk to him about this, and then we'll, and then if it looks like there's going to be any concerns, I'll let you know immediately.
Awesome.
That way.
And they're in order, I think, of the way they need to go.
Yeah.
Great. Any steps anyone can think of that I'm missing?
Nope.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Okay, anything else on this topic before we move on? Any public comment, anything like that? Okay, next topic. Oh, here we go. This is the meat of the meeting. The meeting. Yeah, that's right. Growth policy implementation discussion. So I made a spreadsheet.
That's good. I was reading it and I just felt really overwhelmed by all of it.
I pretty much halted at 550 pages.
What happened at 500? What's that?
I pretty much halted at 550 pages. It's like, yep, so this is not my work break reading.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tried to skip to the.
I put it on my iPad and like was going to sleep.
Yeah, we need an audio book or something.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. That would be.
Boring.
Yeah,
I think I prefer just reading it in the spreadsheet form. That's how it relates to us. That's perfect.
Well, okay, maybe I overplayed the spreadsheet here. The spreadsheets, hold on, it is a template spreadsheet to hold our hold on, let's see. I'm gonna share this. Uh-oh, I definitely overplayed it, I can tell already.
Well, you did more than the rest of us did, I think, so.
Yeah, sorry, I'm dragging.
Really
Give me a second. I'm trying to, because I'm using a spreadsheet and the actual thing, I'm having to move stuff around on different monitors and things. Give me just a second. Oh, this growth policy is an eye chart. I was a little disappointed too, frankly, because the growth policy, what does it clock in at? How many pages? Something just absurd. Let's see, yeah, 550 pages. And the table of contents doesn't exist on the side. I mean, there is one at the top, but you're not going to go print that out. And so to read the PDF, well, it's 120, it's 128 pages of, so I'm still not sharing my screen. I'm sorry.
When I opened it, for some reason it's 550, but now I see what you're saying, like the table of contents isn't linked. So
Yeah,
you just scroll.
I think a lot of that 550 isn't the report, it's like addendums and maps and things.
Yeah.
those are useful, but not necessarily needed.
Yeah, so the growth policy is actually, we'll be kind here. The growth policy really is only, including appendices, is 144-ish pages. But it's still clocking in there. Okay, so there is in this meeting, in this meeting folder in our Google Drive, I just started this thing. So see, I overplayed it. But what I was trying to do is we can skim together pretty easily, I think, right now. And what I just wanted to do was capture, as we skim, and maybe we should put a time limit on this.
Yeah.
Because even if we shouldn't have the goal to get through the whole policy, but certainly the sections that are most relevant to us, I think we should prioritize. And so it's 5:58 right now. Can we spend, what do you say, 30 minutes doing this? And then whatever we get is what we get. And then we'll make a call. Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then,
I went through and took a few notes. I didn't really start taking notes until chapter 3.
good. Okay, well, let's give some context. So just so y'all know what this is. It's a growth policy, serves as a comprehensive plan to guide decisions about land use and development, as well as other public investments. So the reason that we're having this meeting is the growth policy is not, it's not it has no legal binding anything. It provides a framework and a justification for policy implementations and programs at the city. And so as an advisory board, looking at the things under our purview, it's really probably one of our key functions is to bring up ideas that implement what the community wants out of this, that was articulated in this growth policy. And then this is just essentially how to use. And so this is the part I just wanted to show. Yeah, in fact, it says the contents of this growth policy are not regulatory. They're designed to guide decisions related to future land use in coordination with the subjects mentioned above. Is that pretty clear? Any questions about how this is intended to be used? Okay. So, I am going to start skipping around. I guess there was one last piece that I thought would be relevant as a note. I thought this was interesting. They characterized owner-occupied housing units versus renter-occupied housing units. And that may become pretty relevant as we discuss different policy implementations. But about 35% of people are renters here. Well, that's not actually what this says. Of the housing stock that's available, owners are occupying 65% of that housing stock. So that doesn't mean that 65% of the people, if it's a denser, there could be more or less percentage that are actually renters versus owner occupied in our community, but that's what we got anyway. So can we just, first, can I get a motion? Let's do this right. I mean, motion to suspend Robert's rules for the rest of the meeting so that everyone can just talk openly. I make a motion for that.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Yes, Alex, Alexis, yes, Lindsay, yes, I say yes.
Yes, yeah.
Amy, yes, okay, thank you. Formality, but important. So just pipe in as much as you'd like here. My thought was that we would just start scrolling, and we can talk through some of the things here. But to get, well, here, I'll go to the table of contents. The places I think we should spend most of our time are in land use. There's some stuff there. Natural resources, definitely. That's going to have a lot of the stuff that we suggested, and transportation. But anything's up for grabs, truly.
Probably also public facilities.
Yeah, you're right. I think I paged through and saw there was some relevant stuff there too. So, yep. Yep. So we've got history of the area. Can everyone see this well enough? Or is this a total eye chart? Okay.
That's better.
Here's a population. That's the population stuff. This is where that household family characteristics was. Okay, so here, these are getting into the goals, objectives, and strategies. So these are the, y'all remember this probably from when we provided feedback. So I think I have one in here.
I think support active transportation. Right, yeah, that one. I mean, I don't know exactly what that means in the context of chapter 2, but
Yeah.
it comes up later as far as like promoting bikes and walking and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think what's relevant here is like as conservation board, especially like electric vehicles and stuff, I think is specifically mentioned in our bylaws. And so building electric vehicle, neighborhood plan policy stuff. I mean, there's a whole neighborhood plan requirement section where, you know, when somebody's going to come and do a major development, these are the guidelines that they have to have. Just with context, knowing that we're promoting gridded street networks could come into play there. Okay, so land use.
So one of them we already did, so that's good. Land use definitely talks about the Night Sky Protection Act.
Yeah. Which should see its way back to us soon. The city's been working on, I think they're going to take that next. But they're trying to, they had all this to work on essentially. So they had to put that on the back burner. I think the one that kind of, I remember seeing this before, is this impervious area. You know, I think that this is pretty relevant to us. I'm not sure how we're going to express it. Because it is what I did there. Anyway, it's relevant to us because it is a conservation act. I'm sorry about that ugly. Developed areas by their very nature are impervious areas. And so it does relate to rainfall, chemicals, runoff, that sort of thing. And so I have seen items in other communities where they've tried to limit the total impervious areas, like percentage allowed on a lot or something like that. Do you
Can
want
I
me?
just ask a quick clarifying question, Michael?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
mean like these areas are covered with like concrete, like the water runs off them. That's what we mean by impervious?
Yeah, specifically, yeah. Yeah, or building, right? So there are other communities that have said, for any lot, you can only have, you can have a maximum of X percentage, some, usually it can be anywhere, but they say like maybe 65, 70% of the lot can be impervious, and then you have to have the remaining as impervious. I'm sorry, switch that. 70% impervious. That's just a number, by the way. That don't take that to the bank. And then 30% pervious, which means that rainwater and precipitation can seep into the ground. And what people can achieve those in different ways, but the bottom line is just don't create a giant concrete cap on your property. And of course, that's usually assigned to different zones, or zoning or land use, depending on how the code is written. So if we want, that's the kind of thing that we as the conservation board could, if we wanted to look at impervious coverage limitation policies. And just see, we could just see what, we could either ask the city, or we could see what's available out there, and then make a suggestion.
I think that this circles back to a few other things which seem to be pretty high on the list within the growth policy, which they're obvious to us, but specifically water quality of our drinking water, which is groundwater in shallow aquifers. So this directly affects that, and water quality of the river. And those were two things that, reading through here, I think are very important to our community. So this is one way to address those two. I mean, not that it's the whole solution or anything, but it's part of the problem with those two things. So I think there's definitely an argument there.
Yes. Here's what I'll do then, Amy, to that point is I'll add this to, whatever this is section. Oh, geez. I'll just say page 26.
In section 3D.
Section 3D, thank you. Section 3D. Hey. Page 26. And that is, it specifically is in impervious areas. Oh, that's downtown too. Okay, so that's.
Some of that's maybe also allowing for, I really don't know what sort of rules there are on this, but obviously most driveways and whatnot in town are asphalt or concrete or something, but allowing within our city to approve things like gravel and alternatives. And that's just one example that I can think of. And I don't know if there's something specifically saying you can't do that, but.
Well, that's a good point, Amy. I mean, one of the things from from a regulation and rules standpoint is we can be explicitly permissive as opposed to not saying something at all. If we think it's useful, we can actually suggest to the zoning commission, for example, or the yeah, I think it's the zoning commission. With, you know, in concert with the city, say, okay, we think you should consider updating this section with that these uses are explicitly permitted. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what. So there's obviously some research here, but that's the point. We're just identifying here. So far we don't really have a good score for effort required, but we'll get to that in a bit. Let's keep moving. So open space. This is where the Night Sky Protection Act came in. I think we're kind of all over that, but I would like to just highlight it and add it to the list because it is not a done deal. It's well on its way, obviously. Sky protection. Lindsay, you want to help me out? Are you following along? Just so I don't. The open space, is it the open space section?
Yeah, so that's section 3E, page
27.
22. Well, okay, so the page number on the document's different than the top at what the PDF is
crap.
saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. No.
Let's use the one on the document maybe
Yep.
as 22.
Yep.
And then the previous one we are just talking about is actually page 21.
Okay, so page 21 and previous series done. Okay, page 22. Night sky protection. So that one hopefully is along its way because it is in the city's hands for rewrite. This is a question. If we say effort required, it's probably overall effort, isn't it? Right? I'll say 3.
I'd
2.
say 0 because we're done with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, maybe we are.
The question is how do we score other people's effort, right?
Well, I'm sure it was a lot of effort. Well, I know it was a lot of effort on our end.
Yeah, too much effort. Mainly because of poor understanding on my part. Okay. Let's keep moving. So, yeah, what about the brownfields?
So I was just going to say something about this. I think this sort of thing is well regulated federally and by the state. These things are being addressed. I kind of feel like we don't need to, I personally feel like we don't need to tackle these type of things because the federal government is making sure that this stuff gets fixed.
Okay.
That's my own opinion. I just don't know what we could do with that. Because I used to work with Superfund sites, and this is similar to that. And like, I mean, I guess if you think about Butte, the city is involved. Maybe it's something to ask the city and see if there's a place for us in that. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's already being addressed by a lot of other people and agencies.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, one of the things, the context, I think, where it gets a little bit squishier is For example, remember the bioswales that came through that the city presented to us relative to the lagoon, right? They had the bioswales for Fleshman Creek feeding the lagoon, because the lagoon is silt up to here. And then putting those floating bio islands on to help keep the oxygen balance and everything else, keep a healthy ecosystem in the lagoon as a project. And, we reviewed it and said, well, this looks pretty good. And so what ended up happening was they set money aside for that. I have heard that money, setting that money aside, may allow us to make a pretty compelling application to the EPA to dredge the lagoon again, which is a big project.
Yeah.
That'd be like, sure, it'd be millions. But it would, because they did that in the 80s already. And so the question is, what would create the impetus there? Do we think that we're the ones to create that impetus? To ask the city commission to look at doing that project.
Well, to me, that sounds like a little separate. So I don't know the whole history of that, but they're not listing that as a brownfield site. So if we're like taking that off the table, this sounds like a city project, and then we would essentially be recommending that the city,
Yeah, that's a good answer.
pull the EPA for their assistance. And I don't know if that's likely or not.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think the other thing while I'm looking at this is to try to find growth policy sections that are relevant to some of these potential programs, so that I know where to look, right? But you're right. I don't know that this section, the section we just reviewed, really makes.
Yeah, so maybe we could write the lagoon dredging. I think you just said this as a project, and then leave the rest of it blank until we can backfill.
That sounds good.
And to me, that falls like directly into water quality and probably a lot of other board issues like the parks and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, I think you're right. That's just a really big project, because I'm sure that, Parks and Trails would love to make sure that things are tying into all the things, and, all that stuff. It'd be a pretty big collaboration. Yeah, let's keep moving. Okay, so prioritizing infill. While I'm personally very excited about this, I don't think there's much here for us to sink our teeth into.
yeah, because we have to think about all the other boards. I've gone back and forth in my head about this. Like, do we go through everything and anything that we have a toe in, do we put that on this list? Or do we say, oh, Parks and Rec are like, that's going to fall more under the park, or I don't know. I don't know all the boards off the top of my head. Or that's going to fall under zoning. So do we just target the things or maybe prioritize the things that fall like 100% under our purview, as opposed to like, sticking our fingers, or someone else probably has a you know, more.
Yeah,
something.
I-
Can't think of the word.
No, I think it's just a middle ground between the two extremes. You know, we also kind of have some solutions that we know that, you know, could be kind of good programs for us to look at. And so finding like the Lagoon Water Quality Project, which I think is something that just, it's got tons of advantages. It's just a question of whether it's something that's specifically addressed in the growth policy. And as you said, like that could be several different boards, jurisdiction.
I was just wondering with like infill, like I see us having a big role potentially with that lagoon deal, but with infill, like I definitely see how we apply to it, but I almost wonder if it's more of just like a recommendation from us that we support that as opposed to us like doing, it seems more like a zoning problem. Or planning, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was my take on it is, I don't know what resources we have to promote it other than like being cheerleaders for it.
Which
Well,
there's value in that. It's just
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Like we could write stuff to, you know, say, yeah, we formally recommend this. Here's some reasons why or whatever. But I don't know that, you know, I feel like zoning definitely they have the gavel that can really do something, it feels like, in regards to that.
Or maybe we put it in a bucket of, like, you just wrote building efficiency. Well, I guess that's not infill, but maybe we kind of make a bucket of things that is more zoning or planning.
Yep.
But there's multiple things and we say we want to promote all of those in this bucket.
Yep. Yeah, so that's what I was gonna get. I was just gonna start giving y'all some examples so that we make this real and we're not talking theoretical. I mean, infill means development, right? Our growth policy specifically says we're gonna grow. So, and building efficiency codes is a great example. Our hands are tied. Building codes are defined at the state level. But there are probably several things that we can still do to help promote this. And some are even statutory exploration. So for example, you know, I don't know if it's legal or not legal to pass a law that says every property that's bought or sold within Livingston city limits has to have an energy audit done as a condition and passed along as a condition for the sale. That doesn't affect building codes, but it does make the efficiency of the building front and center on a transaction. So that's an example, right? There are other things that we can do on building codes potentially. Even voluntary stuff, like to get a permit, you have to fill out this kind of energy smart checklist questionnaire. You know, did you use, I mean, really, we could use, there's some really obscure stuff that can have a huge impact. Like the difference between using the propellant, some of the older propellants for spray foam insulation versus using some of the stuff that's come out recently for global warming. For example, global warming potential is massive. I mean, you can have like a 3,000x reduction in your global warming potential of applying your foam. And it's a big deal. Like it's the kind of thing that using some of the older propellants, you can't justify using it and the energy savings that you get. You should just be batting it. If your measure is that you want to do climate smart development. So there's definitely there's a bunch of stuff that's in this bucket. And then what I'm trying to suss out is I think, remember, this part of this is doing kind of what's our justification for working on the things that we're working on. And so I would like to add some of this infill development as a relevant growth policy section for upgraded efficiency codes specifically. I also, if we are going to have higher density, and that's our goal, the city has a right of way in all residential zoning that we can permit uses on. Why wouldn't we try to promote, garden boxes and things like that in the sidewalk right away? Or how does someone that is renting and has on-street parking charge their electric vehicle? There are absolutely policies that we can pass that would permit that use in the avenue. So I think that this growth, the infill and in the other growth sections of the growth policy, all justify looking at these specific things, because you have to have the policies in place before you can, before they're developed, not after. Is that? So is there anything else that's in this sort of, any projects or programs that are in this sort of category that you think I should list here that we can at least start linking to growth sections of the growth policy?
I can't decide if like Avenue Gardens are about mixed use or conserving. I think conserving environmentally significant areas is about like the river and riparian zones.
Yeah, like the wetlands and.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure that we will get to those. I mean, are you asking us to? I'm sure we could all come up with like a list to go under there, but if we're trying to do the growth policy, maybe we just leave that kind of open and we add to it as we get to them.
Okay, so I think I'm going to add objective 3.3, 3.1.1. To this, and then let's just move on. Okay. Responsible growth of Livingston by evaluating proposed developments. Okay, so this is the other thing, the smart growth stuff. I mean, really anything that we do
Is going to follow the 10 principles.
is a 10 principle thing.
So one thing that I read multiple times in here that I don't know, I'm not sure how we do this. So preserve open space, farmland, natural beauty, and critical environmental areas. Some of this stuff is more simple, but farmland, how do we preserve farmland when the amount of money they can get to sell their property is astronomical? It's almost like obviously that's a really big issue, but I think of like the Gallatin Valley Land Trust. I think they might be doing some work over in Paradise Valley area. But we maybe like promoting something like that. Because as far as I know, there's not a lot of that happening in our county.
Well, I think
And-
what the growth policy specifically addresses is density, so that we're reducing sprawl, but I hear you. I don't know what is or can be done really about.
Well, and I guess also the question is how much farmland is there really in the city of Livingston? 'Cause the city of Livingston's quite small. I'm not
Yeah.
even sure what this would address in that.
I think this is all about the ETJ, the extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Yeah,
I need to look. Do they have a map of that?
they do. It's on page 26 and it's the green.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's up there. So, I mean, I think that's the piece that is
Okay.
going to be an open question, you know, and this, a lot of that gets expressed by zoning, right? So if we annex land, how do we zone it? And what are you saying by zoning? So, you know, the zoning commission, for example, may decide if we annex agricultural land that's being actively used as agricultural, then they could choose, on one extreme, they could choose to say, well, this is agricultural is actually not an allowed use going forward. Everybody gets grandfathered in, but the next time that this land changes hands, or you go for a permit here for anything, we're going to ask you to use the zoning that we're saying right now, whatever that is. The other extreme is for them to say, we're going to zone this only farmland, so that it's being used as farmland right now, it's zoned as farmland, and even though we're annexing this land, it is farmland. And if you buy it, you cannot develop residential or commercial or other stuff beyond what's permitted in, you know, zone farm. So, and anywhere in between those two extremes. So I think a lot of this gets expressed in zoning, and that's probably the way we should think about some of the stuff that we're doing, especially relative to the growth policy. We can go and make recommendations on policies that the city should consider adopting, either, and a lot of those do get expressed through zoning. I think we're over time, guys. We're at 6:34. We said we were going to stop at 6:30 on this stuff. I think maybe what we should do is this 10 principles of smart growth. Now that we have this sheet, let's kind of think of all the things that we do as kind of this justified by this, meaning project program justified by the growth policy. It's also important, and I didn't put anything in here, which I should, which is where is it echoed in the strategic plan? Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody signed in to the Zoom account from another device.
That happened to me in the middle of this meeting, and as far as I can tell, nothing's happened, so. I guess until they start a Zoom meeting. You won't
Do you have a paid, I'm sorry for this, do you have a paid Zoom account?
No. It's just I also have no clue who would have signed in. It's my personal Zoom account. So maybe I've been hacked, but yeah, it was like, oh, somebody signed in on a different device, re-sign in, and then I just haven't, and I just minimized the screen that told me to re-sign in. And good
Okay,
stuff.
that's upsetting. I'm going to sign back in. And hopefully that signs them out. Okay. All right. I wonder. All right.
Hmm.
The password isn't particularly challenging for this, for the city of Livingston account, so I'm wondering if there's shenanigans going on. Anyway, that's okay. I signed back in. Anyway, let's do this. I'm gonna work on this list and maybe come back and report. Is that all right?
Yeah, I see some cool stuff about climate action planning.
I
and other
know.
things.
Well, maybe we should, I mean,
We can spend more time on this if y'all want.
right, like, I think it seems valid to come back and kind of finish this,
Okay.
even if, you know, it uses another meeting.
I mean, we also each can kind of try to come back with like 3 suggestions or something next time. I feel like a teacher kind of, but
we
at
can
this
even-
meeting or something.
What if we divide it up by chapter or something?
We could do that. You want to do that? I'd love to do that.
Then I'll actually get something done as opposed to reading it the hour before.
Yeah. Yeah, are y'all okay? So be careful because of public sunshine laws. Just kind of make your own with this stuff on it, right? This is saved, by the way, in the meeting folder. But just make your own and then just add what you want. And then we can we'll have it as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Okay, so there's 12 chapters, though I guess we already went through a few.
Yeah, we are already through
Just 3.
3. Yeah, we made it through goal 3.1.
Well, let's say somebody wants to do like natural resources and housing and then divide up the rest, because I feel like those 2 are going to be big. I'll do those 2
Okay.
unless someone else wants them.
Yeah, I think I'll finish out 3. Amy, can you just because I'm sharing my screen, can you keep track of who's?
Oh yeah,
committing?
I'm writing notes. I got it.
Thanks. So I'll finish up 3. And then go to the table of contents.
Because some of these probably won't have as much, so it might be a quicker skim, but I guess transportation and public facilities will be the other big ones.
So I'll finish up 3 and do 5. As just a review. Anybody, y'all want to? Alexis, is there anything that's reaching out to your heart here?
I'd like to do transportation, I think, for sure. Other than that, let's see. I guess public facilities I can do as well.
And I can do economy too, because I think there might be just a couple of relevant things.
Well, and Lindsay, if you, I mean, you have the whole other project, so
Yeah.
let's see, what else? Yeah, we have 3.
You can also do local services, which because I feel like it's probably kind of similar to public facilities.
I think, the other thing, Alexis, I think like, wearing your Energy Corps, well, I was gonna say your Energy Corps hat, but it's your Energy Corps sweater. Do you feel like where do you think we're gonna land on land use stuff? I mean, that's especially subdivision regulations and things like that. Do you know of any specific policies that came from your Energy Corps days that would be relevant there?
What do you mean, like relevant, or? I don't know if there's anything like Livingston specific, really.
Well, okay, so for example, if climate action is one of our,
Mhm.
goals, there is the notion that we specifically do not encourage or exempt development from including any natural gas.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of a big thing in the policy circles right now. And there's a really significant human health argument for that, because there's a significant correlation between households with natural gas and asthma and a bunch of other stuff.
I feel like what I keep thinking about with land use recommendations is it does feel like a lot of it is out of our hands. I mean, I don't know. It gets back to, I guess, maybe what you were talking about earlier in the meeting, where like if the building codes are caught up, like state law, and we can't change that much. I don't know. I know that there are subdivision regulations, but I guess I'm not sure quite on the breakdown between like what the city can do, what the city can't do in
Why don't
mandating
we do
things.
this? Yeah, that's a good point. Why don't we do this? Why don't we put together a list of the things that we have notions we would like to do?
Mhm.
I think Amy, you had that suggestion, right? Like, here's the package of stuff. And then, so we can use this sort of growth policy spreadsheet to do that. And then we'll just invite Matthew to a meeting and say, all right, what do you know about, our ability to do this? What do you know about our ability to do this? And just see what he says. But that way we can kind of get some quick answers on things and see what's easy, what's not. And that way also, like if Matthew gave us input at the beginning, he can kind of represent that well at like zoning commission meetings or city commission meetings or something like that. I think giving him a list to respond to would be really helpful, actually. So maybe we don't like worry so much about what we have the ability to do or not do. We just make a bucket list and then we kind of present it and say which of these should we go after.
Okay, that makes sense. It would be cool too, because even if we can't do it, at least I know we can't do it.
Right.
And then I like would learn something. That would be
Well,
good.
we know why too. I mean,
Yeah.
and it could play into all kinds of things. Because I mean, as an advisory board, we could also recommend that the commission send a letter to the state legislature on things, for example, right? Like if there really is stuff that we're trying to do as a city that we can't do in our growth policy because of these things, they need to know.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so back to our chapters. Are
So
we still doing that?
Give me land use.
Okay, I have housing down twice. Did you want that one? Or not, you don't care.
What did I say I would do?
Okay, so I have for myself natural resources, housing, and then I tacked on intergovernmental coordination and collaboration because I don't know that that's really going to have much, but at least we can review it. And then Michael, you have land use, and I have housing under you too. So I can't remember if you wanted that or not.
Yeah, I'll do land use, housing, and
economy.
And then chapter 11, land use recommendations.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, oh, sorry, dog's barking. Alexis, transportation, public facilities, and local services. And then, Does that leave us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
I think we're good.
9, 10, 11. So 12 is implementation. Lindsay, I don't know if you want to take on any more, or how are you feeling?
Feeling like my plate's pretty full, but I am going to be delegating that stuff too. So I can do one chapter. I'll do implementation.
Okay, if you feel like you can't do it, let me know and I'll take it.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if that could be like huge or not. I don't know.
Just try to do it right now during the meeting. It's usually what I do. Like,
That's totally my style.
yeah,
Ask Michael.
Yeah.
Maximization.
yeah.
It looks like
Okay.
implementation is like a timeline, basically, of every objective and strategy that they wrote down. They put if they are trying to accomplish it in the immediate, near term, midterm, or long term.
So the urgency.
Well, I
Yeah.
suppose that's kind of important for us to know though. So
Yeah.
If we
You wanna
we
just-
could make another column on the spreadsheet, and then I could apply like the urgency in terms of immediate, near term, midterm, or long term for each of our rows.
Well, that's a fantastic suggestion.
Mhm.
okay, so that's all the chapters, and so we'll just come back next meeting with whatever seems
Yeah.
relevant from there.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Yeah, I think I think we've stumbled upon something that could be really helpful. I think in terms of what people want us to be doing, which is bringing ideas to the table. Okay, let's switch topics, shall we? Because we're
Yeah, what's next?
got just a few more minutes left, and all that's next is I just wanted to give y'all an update on upcoming board seats recruitment. So my seat's up for my term is up. I will probably be reapplying. And then Danielle resigned, and so we had an open seat, and then we had Faith put out a recruitment period. And then I think Pam's been called in, Pam Schaefer. Love to give you the floor in a second if you'd like. No problem if you don't. But we got an application during that period, or maybe right after, I'm not sure. But what ended up happening is the city decided to do the open recruitment for the entire month of October for the Conservation Board for the 2 seats, Danielle's and mine. Because even if we had hurried and filled Danielle's seat, it would have been up for reapplication anyway, like
Right.
a month and a half later or less. In city government, we don't respond that quickly in city government. So that's where we are. So right now we're in open recruitment. We're from October 1st to October 31st, I think. I would say encourage anybody that you'd like to have apply. We have 2 seats coming up. And so then next month, we will be reviewing those applications. And in order to avoid a popularity contest, as chair, I've been thinking really hard about how we're going to manage that conversation. So I'll come up with something, but as a preview, I would like to actually send a recommendation this time. And send that to the city manager and the commission on who we'd like to join the board from the pool of applicants for the 2 open seats, the seats that'll start in January. January, just as a warning, is also the time to elect new officers. So we'll essentially wipe the slate clean and reappoint chair, vice chair, and secretary. And then, let's see, I think that's, oh, and then upcoming, just kind of related, is I do have to do a progress report to the commission as chair, and I'll be doing that. I think their early December meeting. So I'll tell them what we've done this year. What else? I think that's everything. Any questions from board members? I'd love to give Pam a second, but I want any other questions, Amy, Alexis, or Lindsay?
Is Pamela applying for one of the positions?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Is there a deadline for applying for people who want to apply?
I think it's 31st. I will pull up, let me pull up the announcement here. Current board and city openings. Recruitment's open from October 1st to October 31st. Yep. So we're 2 city citizen members and 1 youth as well. Starting, and that'll start yeah, in January. And yes, Pam, I know Pam has officially applied. So Pam, I'm just going to give you the floor. You can talk, you can say whatever you'd like.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to just be like a total fly on the wall the whole time, but I have never sat through one of these, and I really just wanted to see how you guys do things and just observe the process. Michael gave me a little bit of a rundown on how it goes, but it's been really interesting, and I've actually been sitting here like taking notes and thinking about this growth policy, and it's really interesting stuff. Anyways, to introduce myself, I've lived here for, my husband and I bought a house here in 2014, but we were kind of seasonally around the area. Prior to that, we lived in Gardner for 2 years and just got priced out, couldn't find anywhere to live, ended up buying a house here and love it. Really wanted to just get more involved in the community and maybe government. And since I have a background in conservation biology, this seemed like a good way to jump in. So my education background's in conservation biology and kind of human geography / environmental justice. I'm a geography conservation biology major in college, but that's like over a decade ago now. So since then, I've been working mostly seasonal work with the Forest Service, Park Service. Did 1.5 years over at the Food Resource Center, helping them get their bakery opened, and just kind of worked out of the position I was in and went back to the Park Service. And right now I'm actually looking and going back to grad school, which is why I might have a little bit of an opening in my schedule to jump into something fun like this. So yeah, that's just kind of a brief background for me. I also wanted to throw in, I was writing down things I wanted to tell you guys at the end, that if you do need help with the filming stuff, I have 0 experience with film or filming things or editing, but I can try to find people to help. If you want to reach out to me, if you need help doing any of that, that sounds like a cool outreach project for the community that, yeah, I think it's needed. I mean, we've all tried to recycle and seen the disorganization that happens there. I also want to try to listen in on the next meeting too, and we'll try to bring some ideas from the growth policy. I started reading it yesterday, and similar to you guys, was overwhelmed by how big it is, but found the like little subsections at the end where they give like the goals and objectives and stuff, at least useful tools to break down some of those sections. So I'm definitely going to brainstorm and try to bring some ideas. And if I know of anyone that is looking to get involved, I would definitely help put the word out now that I know recruitment is still ongoing for this. I don't want to out myself in this process, but just looking around the room as it is, I'm like, well, there's a lot of like women who seem to be in my age, and I'm like, we probably use some diversity. Not that you guys aren't doing a phenomenal job, but yeah, it seems like it'd be cool to get some input from, I don't know, older, younger, mixed race, whatever, different economic backgrounds. I don't know you guys that well, so I'm supposing a lot probably. But anyways, I'll put word out to anyone I know that might be interested. I don't have a lot else to say unless you guys have anything to ask me.
Open floor. Anybody want to ask anything? Pam?
Otherwise, I'll just say that I just wanted to try to get in on the next meeting as well and stay involved. This growth policy seems like a really cool project in that it's something that already exists that you guys get to like give input on, as opposed to just having to come up with your own projects. So it's like an existing city document that is open for comment.
Yeah, well, no matter what happens, we always have room for public here. We don't see the public very often, but sounds like you have a good background of some of the stuff we're doing, so be good to have more input.
Yeah, I appreciate your offer of help for the video too, Pam, because like it's actually a little clunky sometimes as board members trying to get things done, because we can't all meet together if we're not in a public forum that's been noticed. And so sometimes having non-board members is actually can be really valuable that are willing to be helpful. So it's if we're actually trying to get something done like that, right? It's a really useful thing. Also really appreciate you applying. I feel like, asking people to apply even is such a good way to advertise what the conservation board is trying to do. Because they're like, what is this thing? And like, so then what am I potentially applying to? And it's just a neat, so thank you for the interest already. Like, I think it's just great. So that's all I had to say about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I did not know that it existed until about 6 months ago, to be fair. But you guys are relatively new from what I was reading, like 2 years,
Yeah,
maybe?
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's right.
through COVID too, so. Okay, well, I guess any other questions or comments on that last topic before we wrap things up? All right. So I don't see anybody else, so we have our final. I love to have because it feels so inclusive and important. At the very beginning of our meeting, we have a public comment, open public comment period, and at the very end. So here's the end, asking for public comment, encouraging public comment on any topic relevant to the Conservation Board. And so without that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, I'll second.
All right. All in favor? All right. Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.